Your gut bacteria are currently starving, and because they have nothing to eat, they've started eating you. That's not a metaphor. It is a biological reality. When you starve your internal ecosystem of the right environment, those trillions of bacteria stop processing your food and start digesting the protective lining of your own intestines. This internal cannibalism is the hidden trigger behind the brain fog you can't shake, the stubborn bloating that ruins your clothes, and the chronic fatigue that makes 3 p.m. feel like midnight. In this video, I'm giving you 5 scientifically backed natural methods to flush out the bad bacteria, heal your gut lining, and finally reactivate your internal street sweeper to unlock a level of physical energy and mental clarity you haven't felt in years. First, let's begin with a mechanism that is almost entirely ignored by the wellness industry, yet it is arguably the most important cleaner you possess. It is called the migrating motor complex, or MMC. To understand why this matters, we have to correct a major misconception about how digestion works. We tend to think of the gut as a continuous conveyor belt. You put food in, and it pushes food out. But the small intestine actually has 2 distinct modes: eating mode and cleaning mode. When you are eating, your gut is mixing and absorbing nutrients. But the deep cleaning cannot happen during this phase. The deep cleaning can only happen after the last breakdown of food is complete. This is where the MMC comes in. Think of it as your internal street sweeper. It is a powerful wave of movement that sweeps through your small intestine. Its job is to push undigested food and cellular debris down into the colon where it belongs. But here is the critical rule. The street sweeper only comes out when the street is empty. It requires your stomach to be empty for roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours before it even begins its cycle. Once it starts, the cleaning cycle itself takes about 90 minutes to complete. If you eat anything, even a handful of almonds or a specialized detox drink, the moment calories hit the stomach, the cleaning cycle stops immediately. In the modern world, we are grazing constantly. We eat breakfast, then a mid-morning snack, then lunch, a sugary coffee, dinner, and a late-night treat. Because we never stop eating, the cleaning crew never comes out. This has a disastrous effect. When the street sweeper doesn't run, bacteria are allowed to stagnate in the small intestine. This leads to fermentation, bloating, and a condition called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Essentially, the trash piles up because the sweeper never gets a shift. The fix isn't a pill, it is the reintroduction of space. Research suggests that spacing meals by 4 to 5 hours without snacking in between allows this cleaning wave to complete a full cycle. It's about doing nothing. When you hear your stomach rumble and you aren't starving, that isn't always a cry for food. Often, that is the sound of the street sweeper doing its job. By simply closing the kitchen between meals, you allow the system to self-repair. Second, the garden ecosystem. Once we understand that the system needs time to clean, we have to look at the residents living inside the system. We are hosts to trillions of bacteria. For a long time, we thought of bacteria as enemies. Now, we know they are more like the soil in a garden. If the soil is barren, nothing grows. If the soil is rich, the plants thrive. The mistake most people make is trying to fix their gut by taking a generic probiotic capsule. This is often ineffective because you're throwing a few seeds onto concrete. If the environment isn't right, they won't take hold. The single most effective way to enrich this environment is through diversity. There was a fascinating study where researchers swapped the diets of rural South Africans with African Americans. The rural diet was very high in fiber and low in fat. The American diet was the opposite. Within just 2 weeks, the Americans eating the rural high-fiber diet saw a massive reduction in inflammation. Why? Because fiber is the fuel that good bacteria eat. When you eat plant fibers, they pass into the colon, where your good bacteria ferment them. This process creates incredible compounds that lower inflammation and heal the gut lining. But here's the catch. Different bacteria eat different things. Some species like the fiber in onions. Others prefer the fiber in walnuts. Others need the fiber in raspberries. The American Gut Project, a massive study, found that the single strongest predictor of a healthy gut was the number of different plant species consumed. They found that the sweet spot was eating 30 different plants per week. This sounds like a high number, but it includes herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, and fruits. It is about the width of your diet, not just the volume. If you eat a huge bowl of broccoli every day, you are feeding only the broccoli-eating bacteria. But if you eat a smaller amount of broccoli, plus carrots, pumpkin seeds, cilantro, and black beans, you are feeding a diverse ecosystem. By expanding the variety of plants you eat, you build a resilient garden that crowds out the weeds, bad bacteria. Now, moving to mechanism number 3, we have to discuss the timing of the gut. We often focus entirely on what we eat, but when we eat is just as important. Just as your brain has a sleep-wake cycle, your digestion has a rhythm. We tend to think of digestion as a factory that runs at the same speed 24/7. It doesn't. Clinical research shows that your body processes food much better earlier in the day. Your insulin sensitivity and digestive enzymes are at their peak in the morning and afternoon, and they drop off significantly after dark.
Think of it like a factory shift. The day shift is fully staffed and ready to work. The night shift is a skeleton crew. When you eat a heavy meal at 9 p.m., you are dumping a huge workload onto the night crew that has already gone home. Because the body is less efficient at night, the food sits in the stomach longer. Blood sugar stays elevated for longer periods, leading to greater fat storage and inflammation. Furthermore, digestion takes a lot of energy. If your body is spending energy digesting a late meal, it cannot spend energy on deep sleep or cellular repair. There is also a fascinating link between your gut bacteria and your sleep. Certain bacteria help produce the chemicals that regulate sleep, like serotonin and melatonin. When we eat late at night, we disrupt their rhythm, which disrupts our sleep. It becomes a vicious cycle. Poor sleep leads to sugar cravings, which leads to poor gut health, which leads to worse sleep. To break this, we look at time-restricted eating. This isn't about starving yourself, it is about metabolic rest. Try to confine your eating window to 10 or 12 hours. For example, eating only between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. This simple change aligns your food intake with your body's active phase. It allows the gut lining to regenerate overnight without the interference of active digestion. It signals to your body that it is time to repair, not time to process. 4. The on-off switch. Mechanism number 4 takes us away from food entirely and looks at the wiring of the system. You can eat the perfect diverse diet and space your meals, but if this one wire is frayed, digestion will halt. We are talking about the vagus nerve. The gut and the brain are physically connected by this nerve. It's a two-way superhighway, but the traffic flow is dictated by your stress. Your nervous system has two primary modes: fight or flight, stress, and rest and digest, relaxation. You cannot be in both at the same time. Biologically, if you are running from a tiger, or more likely, stressing over an email, your body perceives a threat. In response, it sends blood flow away from the gut and towards your muscles to help you run. Digestion is considered a luxury. Survival is the priority. This means if you eat while you are anxious, rushing to a meeting, or scrolling through stressful news, you are effectively eating with the power turned off. Your stomach acid decreases, and gut movement slows down. This stagnation causes food to sit and rot, rather than digest, causing gas and bloating. We have to understand that digestion begins in the brain, not the mouth. We must manually toggle the switch to rest and digest before we eat. The longest living populations often treat meals as a slow, relaxing time. This isn't just tradition, it's physiology. A practical way to hack this is through breath. Before you take your first bite, simply take 3 slow, deep breaths. Make your exhale longer than your inhale. This physically stimulates the vagus nerve. It sends a signal from your body to your brain that says, "We are safe." The brain then turns the power back on for digestion. It takes 30 seconds, but it changes how your body processes that meal. 5th, this is where we have to look at what we are inadvertently adding to the system that sabotages our efforts. We often focus on what to add: more kale, more water, more supplements. But in biology,
subtraction is often more powerful than addition. We are currently exposing our guts to chemicals that act like bombs to our microbiome. I am referring specifically to the overuse of unnecessary antibiotics and environmental toxins like pesticides. Antibiotics save lives. In a crisis, they are miraculous. But when we use them for every minor sniffle, or when we consume them passively through non-organic meats, they act like a forest fire. They burn down the bad bacteria, but they also burn down the good forest. It can take months for the diversity of the microbiome to recover. But it's not just medication, it's the chronic exposure to pesticides on our food. Many crops are sprayed with chemicals designed to kill weeds and bugs. When we consume these residues on our food, they can have a similar effect on our gut bacteria. We are essentially swallowing small doses of weed killer that disrupt our internal garden. Additionally, we must look at our water. Tap water is often chlorinated to kill bacteria in the pipes. That is good for public safety, but if you drink chlorinated water all day, you are introducing a mild antibiotic into your system constantly. The strategy here is defensive. It is about choosing organic for the dirty dozen, the fruits and vegetables that absorb the most sprays, like strawberries, spinach, and grapes. It involves using a simple filter for your drinking water to remove chlorine. It is about stopping the daily chemical assault so that the other 4 mechanisms we discussed can actually do their jobs. This brings us to a unified philosophy of gut health. Think of your body as a house. You cannot keep the house clean if you are constantly tracking in mud, if you never give the cleaners time to work, and if the electricity is constantly short-circuiting. To genuinely repair the system, we don't need a detox tea. We need to respect the operating instructions. Respect the cleaning crew. Space your meals by 4 to 5 hours to let the street sweeper work. Enrich the soil. Eat a wide variety of 30+ plants per week to feed a healthy garden. Align with the clock. Stop eating late at night to let the night shift do repairs. Fix the wiring. Breathe and relax before eating to turn on digestion. Stop the attack. Filter your water and wash your produce to reduce the toxic load. The beauty of the gut is that it is incredibly forgiving. The cells of your lining replace themselves every few days. Most people wait for a diagnosis to start caring about this. They wait until the bloating is unbearable or the fatigue is chronic. But the true power lies in prevention. It lies in the quiet, daily decisions that nobody sees. It's the decision to wait that extra hour before eating, to choose the variety over the convenience, to take a deep breath before lunch. These small actions build a resilience that allows you to age not just with a longer life, but with a life that feels good to live. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to